Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 5, Episode 4, a Mavic 3 firmware update, and Autel Nano Woes. Marcus, how are you this evening?
Darn good, Bill.
That's awesome. Ron's going to be joining us here in a little bit. And, and I'll tell you what, I want to start off the show with some good news, okay? Our great friend, Original Dobo, is a new father again, okay? I'm sure quite a few of you are aware of this. Nova Grace Donna was born, I think, last Tuesday in the hospital lobby. She couldn't wait to get to the room. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing well. And Ken just, it's just like he's amazed because he has a daughter graduating from high school this year, and then he just had a baby. So it's, and then they have one that's pretty much like right in between too. So, but congratulations to them. That's awesome. That's great news. Enjoy the 3 a.m. Changings and feedings, my friend.
Can I look at the ultra positive side of that? You know what? I think that's kind of cool because he's got an older daughter that's graduating, and he's got another one now. That'll keep him young, man.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Keeps you young. So that's
that's awesome, definitely. Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah. Want to also give everybody, I know I've had a lot of people ask me about my father-in-law. He's still in the hospital. He's having some internal bleeding. They're not sure where it's from. So they're trying to pinpoint that and see where it's going. So if you can continue to remember to keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and also Valerie too, because it's really, she's going to the hospital every day after work. She took 5 half days off last week to go see him in the afternoons. And it's been a lot on her, and just continue to remember her and us, because I'm handling the bulk of chores around the house while she's gone. So to kind of free things up for her. So,
hey, Bill, I know it's a dire situation with your father-in-law, but I'm telling you, we're all still thinking positive thoughts and hoping that he pulls out of this and still has some things going on. Now that I know it's very grave. But I like to think positive, and
he is in good spirits, and I'll tell you what, he never fails to bring a smile to my face and to make me laugh. And and I got to share this with you and with everybody on here. Was the first real get together we had was Easter after Valerie and I got married in 2011, and as per usual, my in-laws were almost always a half hour early in any family function that we would hold. So we were out in the backyard. He was drinking a beer, and he came over to me and he told me, he said, Val's been hurt a lot in her life from previous relationships. Make sure you take good care of her. And I said, Dave, you know what? That's my number one job the rest of my life, is to take good care of her. He says, congratulations and welcome to the family. And that really made me feel really good. So he's got a real special place in my heart, as does Valerie's mom.
That's a great story, Bill, and you'll cherish that forever.
I sure am. Want to start off tonight with we will talk about the firmware update and the DJI Fly update, because this is really kind of pretty good stuff. But I did a video, and I don't know if you guys saw it at lunchtime or not, but I had a lot of questions from people, because this was a type of firmware update for the Mavic 3 where you really kind of needed to use DJI Assistant 2, okay? Because it was a larger one. Because, when they get to be larger, it's kind of hit or miss running it through the app. And, and I know several times when I've done that, I've run into problems. And it's almost always a good practice to run through DJI Assistant 2. And I got pinged, and I had, Bill, I'm running DJI Assistant 2. My firmware update's not coming up. Can you help me out? Well, lo and behold, what you need to do is, and I found this out early on, and I let everybody know, and that's why I did a video for it. It's a different DJI Assistant 2. It's a new one just for them. It's called DJI Assistant 2 Consumer Drones. And you take a look at the video that I did at lunchtime today. There are links for it in there, and it's at the DJI Download Center under software, but you have to go almost all the way to the bottom of the list to find it. It's not up at the top, because, when I first tried it, it's like DJI Assistant 2. Oh, it's not there. I'm like, what's going on? But it will list underneath there the drones that it will work with for that, for that DJI Assistant. Okay. And it's not DJI Assistant 2 plane. It's not DJI Assistant 2 for Mavic. This is DJI Assistant 2, and it says consumer drones in parentheses around it. So, go and watch my video from lunchtime. The links are all there, and you guys need to go ahead and check that out. So, that's an important point there. And, and it's another point too. And Marcus, one of the things that I want to emphasize here, and I think you'd probably agree with me, is it's almost always better to do that through DJI Assistant 2 than just doing it through the app. Am I right?
Well, yeah, I think you are. I gotta be honest with you, Bill. I'm kind of lazy. I did it through the app, but I don't disagree with you. I think that if you do it through Assistant 2, you make sure that you get a perfect firmware update. Because what I've been told, and I'm no expert in that regard, but if you do it through the app, there could be dropped packets and so forth that can cause errors. So
yeah, now the only time that I'm okay with that, let's say you're on vacation, okay, and you may not, or you may be out and not have access to your PC or Mac, then if you have good signal and everything, then yeah, go for it. So that's my recommendation. Let's greet some people here because I know there's a lot here tonight. Maddie's here, Akarasho's here. Let's see who else. Jaybird's in the house. Mr. Stephen Ewing is here. Welcome, Stephen. Greg Pittman. Greg, I hope you're doing better tonight. Captain Ray Kelly's in the house. Jerry Bowser, Wally Drone World, Leonard Oglesby. Let's see who else is here. Lauren is in the house. Welcome, Lauren. Who else do we got? See, Drone Shots is here. The Hexter. Dr. Ted is in the house. Welcome, Dr. Ted. Let's see who else we got. I want to see if I got everybody here. Rich Flyer 32. Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to talk about the woes of the Autel Evo Nano, and we're going to start off. Ron's going to share something a little later, but I'd like Marcus to kind of give us an update with his experiences with the Nano and see where things are for him.
I'll tell you, Bill. I flew it yesterday. After I did this thing had a bunch of firmware updates as well recently, so I've got it on my phone here so I can tell you. It's the version is 1.0.9 for the firmware version. That's the latest firmware, and Autel doesn't give you the liner notes to tell you what has changed. So I didn't really know what to expect, but I took the Mavic 3 out to the canyon yesterday, and I also took this guy and I flew it. And because a lot of people have struggled with this guy in the wind, I was concerned flying it out over the canyon. However, I was very fortunate. It was a day that there was very little wind. So I sent it out over the canyon and did some stuff with it. I'll tell you, I tested obstacle avoidance again. As soon as I took off, I pointed it right towards my chest. And let me tell you, Bill, I could have ran it right into my chest.
Right into your chest.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, it's got good brakes. But listen, here's what I want to say. I had fun flying it. It actually flew pretty good. It's not terribly fast, as everybody has talked about. It got up to that 12 meters per second that it seems like everybody, that's their top speed with the drone, is 12 meters per second. I took it out over the canyon. I did a couple of panos with it that turned out pretty good. I did some quick shots with it that turned out pretty good. However, now I'm going to talk about the downside a little bit. I still see some jello in the video, and it's weird. It comes at weird times. There's a lot of drones that a lot of times on deceleration, you can see a little wiggle in the gimbal and get a little jello. So I saw that a few times, but then I also saw it other times when I was like, why? I don't know. There would just be some random jello. And I know a lot of people say that, okay, that's usually if you're at high speed. I don't know. I've seen it at low speeds too. So I don't have that answer. The other thing that I noticed is when you have it in sport mode, the obstacle avoidance is supposed to be disabled, but I still, and this was on a gloomy, sunless day. It was all clouds and gloom. And I still got some falsing with the obstacle avoidance. I was out over the canyon, got the red beep, 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 and the drone would slow down, and which, like I said, it's not even supposed to have that on in sport mode. So I don't know exactly. Maybe, it could be a setting that I have wrong. I'm going to acknowledge that. I may not be fully versed in it yet, but anyway, that's where it's at. It has moments of brilliance. The camera is beautiful, undeniably. It takes when it works, it takes some amazing video. But the big thing to me is that jello issue. You just, for the money that you spend for that drone, it just shouldn't be there. That's what I'm saying.
And you brought up a real good point. I was just going to say that, this isn't a $399 or $299 mini drone. Okay. This is setting you back some serious coin. And when you spend that kind of money, and I know you've said this before, and I agree with you 100%, you should get your bang for your buck. Okay. And you should expect at the very least from a drone like this, not to get jello, not to get that jittery look on the videos. Okay. There should really, that should not happen whatsoever. Now, my question for you is this: do you think this is something that can be corrected by a firmware update, or is this something that's more hardware related?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Bill, you've got a lot of experience too. I'll tell you, I have never seen jello corrected with a firmware update. And I'm not saying that it can't be. I'm not an engineer, but I'm just saying my experience is that I've never seen. Usually, it's a problem with the mechanics of the gimbal itself. With regard to the OA, I would hope that that's something that they could cure. I got a lot of comments. Not the video I did the other day with it, where I was going against the back of my Tahoe with it. And, I could have flown it right into the back of my truck. And, people told me, well, it was a reflective surface and it was dark and whatever. Oh, okay. So what you're telling me is the obstacle avoidance doesn't work. So, I mean, if you can't pick and choose, you want it to work all the time,
Right.
So anyway.
Right. Yeah. I hear
maybe
you.
that is something they could fix in firmware, Bill. I don't know.
Well, what's real interesting in this thought, it just popped back into my head. Okay. I know a lot of people, and I'm going to go back to the days of the X-Star Premium when I had that. Okay. They had to change the, for lack of a better term, the shocks for the mounts on the gimbal. Okay. They would wear out very quickly. Okay. Now I ended up getting, by the time my drone was made, they had put a new set of those shocks on. Okay. And apparently it was causing some type of jello or vibration with the gimbal as you were flying. And that I never noticed it with mine. So I would assume that something like this took care of it. Hence, they had done this. And I don't know if people were able to send them back, or they sent them a kit or to get this corrected or not. But I'm in thinking with you. I don't think, and it's rare that I have seen, this jitteriness or jello get taken care of by a firmware update.
It's a drone that I really want to love.
Yeah. And that's the frustrating thing. It's almost there. Okay. The obstacle avoid, and I'll tell you what, and I think you'd probably agree with me. Okay. Obstacle avoidance is nice. It's not a must have. Okay. Because we're used to it with the DJI Mini. Okay. That's to me, that's neither here nor there with that kind of a drone.
I paid for it.
Yeah.
Obstacle avoidance. So I want it to work. Hey, we need to answer Greg. He is saying that temperature could be a contributor, Greg Pittman. And I agree with that. However, we have seen people flying it in warmer climates that have still had jello. So I don't know.
Okay.
But I think that's true. We've all seen. Well, I'll tell you, I go back to the original Mavic Mini. The original Mavic Mini, if you flew that drone below freezing, you would get shakes in the video.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so it's this little camera on this thing has moments of brilliance. I mean, there's times that you'll look at it and you'll go, "Wow, that's a mini drone." You know, I mean, it's pretty wild. It's close, but it's not there. And again, I'm with you, Bill. If the OA was kind of wonky, well, I wouldn't be happy about it, but I could live with it. The Jello and the video, that's where I really struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this one kind of caught me by surprise when I found this out today, was that the RC Pro has a firmware update. And surprise, surprise, what happens, what the firmware update did. And let me go ahead and share this article. And by the way, as always, all these articles appear in Build a Drone Reviewer Facebook group and page, just to let everybody know. Trying to share and it's not working. Let me try it again here. There we go. Okay. DJI makes RC Pro compatible with Air 2S. Okay. That, and I know there a lot of people are jumping for joy right now with news about this, Marcus. This is really good news.
It is great news, but you know what would really make me happy?
What's that?
If they made, hang on here. If they made that RC Pro compatible with this, oh, dude, I would buy that so fast it would make your head spin.
But yeah, this kind of like, this is one of these things that kind of like came in the side door, and we weren't, because we're all focused on the Mavic 3. This one just kind of like came in the side door and we didn't even see it here. But yet, this is kind of huge, and this is a good thing because this bodes well that the RC Pro is going to be for more than just obviously now the Mavic 3. Okay. In this backwards compatibility is fantastic with this. So I think this is fantastic news, and it's going to definitely help with their sales for the RC Pro, because that's some serious coin for that. Okay, that's a lot of money. It really is.
It is. But we've talked plenty about what the advantages of that controller are, and I absolutely understand it. And yeah, there's times I wish I had that thing.
Yeah, I'm the same way too. I sent mine back.
You did? I didn't know that.
I'm using my phone. My phone is my Z Fold 3 is just fantastic. Great real estate. And it's about 1,000 nits. So I'm pretty good in the sun.
Oh.
So I'm like, here was my logic. I would rather spend the money on I could get a drone for that. Okay. That's kind of drone kind of money. Okay. So that's kind of like was my thinking, is I'm just going to kind of push that to the side for right now, as far as that's concerned, unless they had a nice sale on one. So that's where we're at with that. Now, the big news was the Mavic 3 firmware update. All right. And this one is something we were kind of like waiting for since day one. All right. Without question. And first thing I want to do is I want to go over the article that actually talks about, I thought I had that up here. And let me go ahead and get that back, because I had it up here and I lost it.
Dang it.
There we go. All right.
They packed a lot into it, didn't they, Bill?
You sure did, Marcus. And I want to go ahead and go over all this right here. Adds quick shots, including droning, rocket, circle, helix, boomerang, and asteroid. Adds panorama mode capable of capturing in high resolution. Adds burst shooting. Adds digital zoom for normal video mode. Adds color display assist for D-Log. Adds 4K 60 frames per second and manual exposure. Index adjustment for master shots. Adds quick transfer. Adds zoom and D-Log for focus track when recording video. Adds support to set return to home altitude for advanced return to home. Adds USB mode for Mavic 3 Cine for copying data. Optimizes accuracy of color correction. Increases image sharpness of telecamera when shooting at high magnification. optimizes image area for time-lapse photos, adds support to DJI RCI Pro to output clean HDMI footage, adds support for DJI RC Pro to cache video, and download original video to an external SD card. Wow. Okay. Wow. There's enough there to keep me, doing videos for probably 2 or 3 months. Okay. There's just so much here. It's just so rich. And everybody and you know what I say right now, Marcus, okay? And you and Ron aside, okay, there were a lot of people out there who said, this is a very expensive drone. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles we were expecting on it. Well, you know what? It's here now, okay? This feature set is off the charts, Marcus. It really is.
And the difference is DJI told us when we bought that drone, I fretted about the price as much as anybody. You can ask Mike Wright and Ron Brown about that. I was wringing my hands, when they introduced that over the price. However, they told us from the very start that it was going to be, you would have limited capability until this update in January. So as far as I'm concerned, they delivered on their promises. Are there still some issues outstanding? There certainly are.
Yeah. And I think our friend Original Dobo, he addressed that pretty well with these issues that were outstanding, and know that DJI is going to work on things like that, okay? Because they're not going to sit still, okay? They're not a Fimi, they're not a Hubsan, they're going to take, and they're not an Autel, okay? They're going to take this seriously. They're going to do pedal to the metal and get some of these issues addressed, like the GPS lock and it taking a while to lock onto satellites. What was the other one? I'm trying to remember the other thing besides the horizon issue.
The big two to me were the horizon tilt and the GPS. Oh, some people were having disconnections, which
disconnections.
They were like even Billy Kyle, who promotes DJI a lot. He acknowledged that he had some of those kind of issues as well. I've not experienced, and I kind of thought I did one time, but Ron says he's never experienced that. So
yeah. I've flown mine down. Real. I've flown mine in a couple different areas, and I haven't experienced any disconnects. The signal's been rock solid.
Billy said when it happens, it's so frustrating because he said it'll happen repeatedly, and that would be very frustrating.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah,
and you wonder what the heck's going on, because I think Ken said in his video he tried it with both the controller that came with the Mavic 3 and with the RC Pro, and they both do the same thing. So
Bill, with regard to the satellites, so yesterday when I first fired up the drone, and I don't know if it's because it was right after the update, but it started on 0 satellites, and it took, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes to get enough satellites to take off. Mm-hmm. However, once I got it up and flew it out there, I had 25 satellites at one point. And then when I landed and switched batteries, did a hard boot, shut everything down, fired everything back up, it grabbed them instantly. So I mean, that's just anecdotal, but that was just my experience.
That's interesting. Ron, how are you this evening, sir?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you tonight? Marcus, were you talking about the Mavic 3?
Yes, sir.
We're talking about the satellite, and I know, Ron, you've probably got a lot to say about that because I know you've experienced it.
Well, we talked about it, a little bit last night in Drone Nation, and Mikey and I both had the same conclusion. It took longer than ever to get the satellites in after the update. I mean, I timed it. It took 5 minutes, so I was a little despondent over the satellites, but happy about everything else, right? So today I got a chance to get another short flight in before sunset, and just the opposite happened. I probably got the fastest 12 satellites I've ever seen. Like it still was slower than other drones, but for the Mavic 3, it was the best I've ever seen. I didn't even time it. I was going to start my timer, but it got the satellites too fast.
So, Ron, you're making me think here. Do you think that initial, and I'll have to fire mine up again and try that out. Do you think that initial, after the firmware update, finding the satellites could have something to do with the firmware update?
You know, no guess, because I did a compass calibration before my flight yesterday when I had the slow acquisition at satellites. And today I did not do a compass calibration. I did move it to another location on the beach, but it was a similar environment. You know, who knows what metal's buried underground at these places. But I mean, again, I was, again, just a similar location, just, you know, maybe about a quarter mile, half a mile more north. And so I don't know if it was location or whether it was, as you said, Marcus, maybe, you know, the firmware getting used to things. But I know a lot of people are going to say, well, it's your location and maybe you were next to metal. Well, both locations I've taken off with the Mini 2 and the Air 2S, those same exact locations, same exact conditions, and they got satellites before I was ready, even got everything connected and ready. So, you know, as far as the environment's concerned, you can throw it out the window, because the other DJI drones in the same exact location, same environment, same temperatures, get satellites, boom.
That's what I was just going to tell you. So I flew this in the exact same spot yesterday that I was flying the Mavic 3, and it grabbed satellites instantly. I mean, as soon as I turned it on, practically it was ready to fly.
Yeah, I was telling Marcus earlier, I did my firmware update, I did everything. I was hopeful like after dinner, because sunset's getting a little later now, like at 6:15. So I was hopeful of being able to get it after work. Rained all day today.
Oh no.
No chance to get out.
You even got to stick. You even got out with the new firmware update, right, Bill?
Yeah, I got the firmware. I did everything. You know, did the Fly app, did the firmware update, and you know, one of the things I was talking to Marcus about, and I did a 5-minute show at lunchtime today, was on DJI Assistant 2, and it's not the normal Assistant 2; it's the Assistant 2 that's for consumer drones. Because I had several people ping me. They go, "Hey, Bill, you know, they fire up Assistant 2, their drone's plugged in into their PC or Mac, and it's not showing up." And then I told them why, and you know, and that link is easy to find. It's on DJI Downloads under software, but it's all the way near the bottom, and it's DJI Assistant 2, and it has consumer drones on it. So, good. And that's both for PC and Mac.
Good information, because if somebody did have a problem with their upload over the phone or their tablet, the way to take care of that is to go back and redo it. DJI Assistant. You said the consumer version.
Right, the consumer version, because it will list. What's nice is it will list the drones that it's applicable to, for that DJI Assistant 2. So, and again, it's in the video I did at lunchtime. There's links in there, super easy to find, and it's just like, you know, the only thing that's different is it's a new Assistant 2. I mean, I did the same thing as some of my viewers did, and you know, and I'm like right away, and I saw because DJI did not even put it in their tutorial video. They didn't even tell you that. Okay. And then I looked and I saw the parentheses around it that said consumer version. So I just typed DJI Assistant 2 consumer version. Boom. It popped right up. So
great. Well, maybe you haven't got out to fly with it yet, but you know how you always say it's a good day to fly. Well, when you get that thing out for the first time with the firmware update, it'll be a really good day to fly, Bill.
Oh, it will. Well, I got another video coming out probably tomorrow on my first low light test. It was at sunset, and I'll tell you what, Ron, I think we may have a winner compared to the Mavic 2 Pro. Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You know what we saw, Ron and I saw firsthand, you know, when we were at the beach, how that handled that sunset over there. Okay. Now this thing, just Mavic 3. Wow. And this is before the firmware update. I mean, it just was wow. Okay. It just kind of knocked my socks off. It was just incredible. It was crazy. The detail was on it.
Hey, but I do have a little bit of good news from my flight today, which wasn't a long flight, but you guys probably have seen my videos from, you know, when the Mavic first came out, even after the Mavic 3, and even after that big update in December, my master shots did not work. The drone flew okay. The camera went crazy, and I got this real crazy master shot where, you look like I fly an FPV drone, but the drone was flying steady. It's the camera that was messed up, not the drone. But anyhow, without doing anything special today, no, what do you call it when you move the drone all around to calibrate it?
IMU. The IMU.
No IMU, no gimbal, no super secret sauce. No, pick 1 foot up and tap my, hand on it or whatever. I took it up, did master shots. Perfect.
Good.
So, and I know not everybody had this issue, but Mikey had the issue, more than me just had this issue. Because even my video, a lot of people say they have the same issue. Because a lot of people say, are you going to send it back to DJI? And so on. I was trying to calm things like, okay, I don't really think this is a hardware issue because the gimbal's fine doing everything else, except this issue. So, the firmware update now has fixed my my master shot problem. I think I mentioned briefly last night, Bill, though, when I was doing the panoramas, the spear panorama did not finish. It got stuck at, say, I'm making a number of 38%. And I had to just like physically manually go in there and kind of just stop it. And I went to the next pano, the next 2 panos, and they work perfectly. In fact, you're gonna love these panos, Bill. I used to take a pano and you could go get a cup of coffee or whatever while it was taking shots it needed or whatever. These just go boom, 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 and it's done. You could go right on to doing something else.
Wow.
Except the spear, I don't know. And I'm not saying the spear is broken. I only tested it 1 time yesterday. I did not get a chance to retest today. It may have just been a glitch. You know what I mean? It may not be a real issue. So, but my point here being is that the panos, it's not your father's panos, Bill. These panos move.
That's one of the things that I want to try tomorrow when I get up. See, I have a limited, once I get out, finish up work and be able to get outside. Now, what's nice is they're doing construction across the street, so I can pretty much fly in our area right now because there's not a lot of houses in that direction.
Right.
So that'll be nice. I can just set up right in the driveway and take off, which is really nice right now. I don't have to go up to the field to do that. So,
Good.
But as I was talking with Marcus was, the one thing, looking at everything that they have given us with this firmware update, Ron, it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. I mean,
we've got everything but the kitchen sink, Bill. I think, but there is one miss though. And now, I say this with, I want to restrict what I'm saying here. We had Marcus and I did a kind of a pop-up Drone Nation special report yesterday at 9 a.m. because, as you probably discussed, this firmware update firmware and app update basically dropped at 10 p.m. Sunday night. So a lot of people woke up Monday morning not wearing it. So we did just like a mini one, just kind of giving the basics. And you know what? Even though we think waypoints is no big deal, I'm going to say half the people that chopped in say, "Oh, it doesn't have waypoints." And why I'm cautioning myself here, it never said it was from day one. It never said it was going to have waypoints. So it's not missing. Anything about it. They never said anywhere on the literature that it was going to have waypoints. So it's not. You can't fault somebody for not having a feature they didn't say they were going to have. But for more people than I would think, not having waypoints is a little bit of a pain point for some people.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're a pain to set up, but boy, when you hit the button, you just put your hands off the controller and watch it go to town and do what it's going to do. And I love it. If you got to be patient because it does take some time to set up those waypoints. And, for example, you want to take pictures at one, shoot video at another, do a burst at another one, that kind of thing. You can do all those things and it's wonderful, but it takes time. And, you got to learn to what you can and can't do. Yeah. But it's really good when it does work. I really like that.
I think the other shoe here that going to fall is for anybody that's interested in doing the mapping stuff, for businesses and things like that. You want to have that built in because about a year from now the SDK will come out and all the mapping apps will be able to make the Mavic 3 fly autonomously. The map warehouses, fields, whatever, Bill. So I don't know if people are thinking all the way down the road that a year from now they want that to go in all their mapping apps. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
got okay. Welcome. We want to welcome in Bill, Nick's High Tech. Ray Kelly's in here with us. Charles Hatmaker's in. Dr. Ted Bowman. Hal 9000. Lauren's with us tonight. Lauren says the official release notes say to use Assistant 2 for consumer drones. Is there issues doing it through the app? I had no trouble doing it through the app, Lauren, but somebody on Drone Nation last night, I think, had a problem. They had no features, or all the features are missing. So
Yeah,
Maddie's Drone World's here. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Ron, for that shout out. Appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, Marcus and I kind of talked about that a little bit, and I'm always in the habit, and I'm going to get into the habit, especially for some of these larger firmware updates, to do through DJI Assistant 2 for consumer drones. Because sometimes it can drop a packet and not pick up everything.
If your internet may have a spike during the middle of this. If it's a long process, say it's a 15-minute, 20-minute process, may have a hiccup in your internet signal.
Yeah, and another thing, and you know what, Ron, and I've heard it time and time again that people don't go. I almost always try to have both the remote and the battery fully charged whenever I'm doing a firmware update. Okay, because I know it says 20%, but you know what? You're really pushing the outer edge of the envelope if you're going to try this at 20%. Okay,
more than once, Bill, my updates got stuck at 99% and it just sits there for a long time.
Yeah, it'll sit there and spin, and I've had that before, especially with the Mavic 2. And there's nothing you can do. You got to wait through it. And the thing is, that's why I've always, since those kind of things have been happening, have had a fully charged battery in there whenever I'm doing the firmware update. That's just a force of habit. I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I do it, I normally do it through the phone or your app, is because that's the way most people are going to do it. So I want to be able to speak to the larger audience that does it just through their mobile device.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying don't do it through your mobile device. You may have instances where you don't have a choice. Okay. If you're away from your PC for an extended period of time and you need to do the firmware update, by all means, go ahead and try it. You may want to have to go back when you get home or get to your PC or your Mac and do the firmware update through DJI Assistant 2 for consumer drones. That way you're 100% sure that you're getting everything. So you're not going to miss everything. So, I mean,
while you're bringing this, I think Ray Kelly had a problem with his Mavic 3 update. If you can see in the chat, he says, I will try to fly the Mavic 3 again tomorrow. Again, I think he's had problems with his update.
Okay. Yeah. Keep us posted, Ray. Let us know what's been going on with that. In conjunction with this, and this was one thing that I think a lot of people sometimes miss. They'll jump into doing an update, okay, and then they go fire the drone up, and it's like, what happened here, and then there was an update to the app, okay, and in this case there was an update to the DJI Fly app, and I'm going to go over that real briefly here, just to kind of touch base about that.
Yeah.
Because that's an important thing. Added support for quick shots, panorama, and quick transfer on DJI Mavic 3. Optimize user experience when adjusting camera settings in Pro mode. Fixes certain issues and optimizes overall app quality. Okay. Now it is out there for both iOS and Android. And again, for Android, okay, you don't get it on the Google Play Store. You go to DJI Download Center, and there's an APK. It's very easy to go ahead and download that.
Bill, the RC Pro just prompted the update as soon as you turn it on.
Okay. That's great. And by the way, Ron, I don't know if you caught this or not, but the RCI Pro is now backwards compatible with the Air 2S.
Did I catch it? We may be buried the lead here for a lot of people. That probably made as many people's day as the Mavic 3 getting updated.
I hear you. And, that is, Marcus and I were talking about that. That's some pretty exciting news. Okay. To be able to, and that says a lot for the RC Pro, because that means going forward, it's going to have a lot of drones, you're going to have capability of being able to fly with the RC Pro. That's a good thing.
Bill, is there any chance that Mini 3 will work on the RC Pro?
You know what? I wouldn't doubt it, Ron. I really wouldn't doubt it. I'm thinking that that's going to happen. Now, we talked a little bit about with Marcus. We talked about it a little bit. He had his Nano out yesterday and was flying over the Snake River
And
Canyon.
it just recently got a firmware update as well.
Yes, but he said what's interesting is they don't tell you in the liner notes what it is. Okay, they just here's the firmware update.
Well, like a Hubson or somebody. Lots of times they just say like bug fixes,
and that's it, and you don't know. Well, he did all that, and he shared with us. He still had. I mean, for the most part, he says when the camera works, it's great. Okay, but then there's still those. There's still the jello with it, and obstacle avoidance still isn't working with it. And, that has to be really frustrating, Ron, when you're spending, this isn't $300 on a mini drone that you're spending. You're spending $795, $895, $1,000 on a mini drone. And like Marcus said, I expect these things to work out of the box, like obstacle avoidance and, the camera, and not to have a jello, and it's there.
Now, I mean, of course, we do know nobody's got obstacle avoidance to work well on a mini drone yet, but the jello is inexcusable. I've seen a couple of videos where it looks like $100 toy drone from 2017, where the jelly wobbles just all over the place. So yeah, that's totally unacceptable at this price class, or almost any price class nowadays. Anything over $100, but even our friend Billy Kyle recently put his first video up on the Nano Plus, and in the video he's pretty happy with it because of course he's just looking at the feed on his phone. But if you saw he pinned the very top first comment to his video saying, but once he watched it on his big PC screen, he could see the jello. That's the thing is when you can't see the jello on your phone screen.
On your phone screen,
video screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was talking with Marcus is, this has to be very frustrating because you expect, it's again, I'm trying to condition myself to think that Autel is a better company than Hubson and Fimi, which I think they are for the most part. Okay. And that they want to come out with good quality products, which they mostly do. Okay.
I mean, they've released two winners already. The Evo 1 and the Evo 2 are both winners.
Yeah, those are good, solid drones. Okay, they did good here. I think what they did with this was they kind of rushed it just a little. It wasn't quite there yet. It's like that lasagna that's half baked. You can still smell it, and you want to take a bite of it, but it's not ready yet. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what the Nano and Nano Plus are. They're not quite there yet. Okay. And they're the ones, and we're the ones that are really kind of doing their beta testing for this.
Yeah. And it may be again, back to the whole mini thing, the light series of drones. Well, nobody ever has the generic. Everybody always has the Plus model, but the Light Plus seems to be a much more solid drone, even though it shares the same app and a lot of the similar cameras and features. But I think people discovered, everybody got on DJI. Well, why does the other Mini 2 have obstacle avoidance, all this stuff? I think the other companies like Hubson and now Autel has learned it's not that easy to pack all this stuff in a little mini drone.
Mm-hmm. And you hit I think you hit a real crucial point, Ron, is, and I know, and I'll go back to when, and I think you were there when we had Rick Smith on, and he kind of alluded to this as well. He says, you can only pack so much technology into a given amount of space. And I think that's the case that we found with Hubson, with them, with the Pro, that they bit off more than they can chew, and it didn't work. And I think it's the same thing here with the Nano and the Nano Plus. Time will tell. I'm hopeful that Autel can get these issues corrected. I think the obstacle avoidance is a firmware update. I'm not so sure about the jello. I'm thinking, and Marcus and I talked about this as well, Ron. And rarely have I seen Jello corrected by a firmware update. Okay. It's more or less, it's either going to need either a new gimbal or new mounts for the gimbal kind of a thing. And it's going to require some new parts.
That's what John Coopy pretty much told Marcus and I too. So we'll see. Though, can I give this little update from Ross Langdon down there,
Yes.
down under? This may somewhat relate because some people theorize that this Jello is caused by, the way the drone doesn't handle the wind well and flies slow, or a lot of people have this issue. But Ross, he got this statement today from Ken Booth, who's a big muck over at Autel. I'm just making out. Ken Booth works at Autel. I don't know if he could just be the the rookie programmer for all I know. But he says I can confirm that sports mode will be updated by Autel to 15 meters per second shortly, and max wind will be level 5. So I'm not, Bill. Are you kind of an expert metric man? Can you convert 15 metrics over to the miles per hour that we know well?
No, I got to get on my computer to figure that out.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I hope 15 meters is at least something like 30 miles per hour. But and I thought the drone said it was level 5 wind out of the box, but maybe it wasn't. So, well, Bill, you and I remember the Mini 1 wasn't a level 5 drone wind. Bill, you had a couple little I'm going to call them mini scares with a Mini 1, right?
Yes, I did.
Wind.
Oh yeah.
So the value of a level 5 wind resistance drone.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said for that. And I'm crossing my finger, Ron. I want Autel to succeed in the worst way possible, because it's good for everybody, and I really want this mini drone to work from them. And I'm really, this is one thing that Greg Pittman said 33 miles an hour.
I just did the math here, 33.554. Thank you, Greg. Greg's a better mathematician than I am.
But that's good. That's a good speed for
in sport mode or whatever.
Sport mode, yeah.
Because we've seen a couple of videos where that thing's barely moving if the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I hate to speak for anybody else, but I don't want to pay $7.99 to have the drone not be able to fly back to me because the wind's blowing, Bill.
Exactly, and I also want that drone. If it says it has obstacle avoidance, I want it to work. Okay. Do I need obstacle avoidance? No. I've flown mini drones without obstacle avoidance all day long, and it's fine for me. But, probably for newer people, it's probably good for them. And
you probably paid $100 more for that drone because it has obstacle avoidance. If it didn't have obstacle avoidance, it'd be $699 instead of $799. So you're paying for that.
Yeah, you're paying for the obstacle avoidance. And again, you brought up the point, it's getting everything inside that compact little area, is I think they may be experiencing the problem that Hubson experienced with the Pro, and it may be a heat issue too.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah, for Autel, luckily they released this drone, at least for a lot of North America, in the coldest weather of the year, so overheating won't be an issue for a couple months to most of us.
Yeah, I mean,
you didn't have to worry about overheating issues the last couple of days, right?
Oh, there was no problem about overheating down here. My furnace has been running nonstop since Sunday. Okay, we got down to 31 here Monday morning. Okay,
Ooh.
Yeah, it gets in.
You thought you were back in Columbus or Pittsburgh, huh?
Yeah, no thanks. Okay. I'm like, well, I was looking for frost on the ground. I didn't see any, but in some parts of in Florida, they saw snow flurries. Okay. And I'm like,
wow. Yeah, you probably thought you were back in Pittsburgh. You wanted to put on the Steelers jersey and run down to the playoff game, huh? And
yeah, just about. I mean, it was, it really felt like football weather, but I mean, it was brutal. I mean, it really was.
You were looking for Bradshaw, Mean Joe Green out there in the frozen tundra, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I was telling Valerie yesterday morning, I said, be real careful going to work.
Yeah.
Especially going over bridges and overpasses because they freeze before the regular road.
You get that kind of, what do you call it, like a visible ice, dry ice down there?
That black ice, yeah.
Black ice, yeah.
Yeah, that can happen down here too. And see, the problem is down here, okay, I mean, they are not equipped to handle roads with ice on it or any kind of anything like that. So, it's kind of like their solution here is to wait till the sun comes up and it warms up. I mean, that's the only thing you really can do. So a lot of times when that has happened, and it's been rare that it's gotten super cold and everything's been frozen like that, there's been a couple of days where they've just delayed the start of work or school for a couple of hours until things warmed up.
Right, and you're from north, you know how to drive and that stuff, but I bet you a lot of people down there don't know how to drive.
Oh,
and that
nobody
stuff.
knows how to.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
probably look at these rookies over here. They don't know what they're doing.
Well, it's like, we went back up north, Valerie and I did, in one of the time, and we had snow when we went up one year, and she's like, she's not immune to it because she was born in Illinois. She lived out there until she was about 8 or 9. So she's not, but she just was like, let's get back to Florida. It's just like, no. I'm done with this kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't blame her. So I think that's about it for tonight, Ron. Do you have any closing thoughts here?
Just that I've only got maybe 2 flights in with the new Mavic firmware, but Bill, I'm very happy. I think this really puts that drone at a kind of at the top of the consumer heat now. Whatever, I know it's also at the top of the price heat too, or whatever. But and this is all all depends on you. But I think you can justify the cost of that drone a little bit more now with this full feature set coming.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited about this firmware update, Ron. DJI's come through with a lot on it. Anxious to get out there and try it. As I told Marcus, I said, I got a couple of months worth of videos from this firmware update to do because there's so much on here and there's so much to do.
And I don't know, I don't think they talk about this, but the precision landing thing, when I flew yesterday, I took off top of a wood picnic table. You know what a picnic table is, down at the beach or whatever, with no mat, no nothing down. Just took off top of the picnic table, flew out, flew around for like 30 minutes. Didn't fly extremely far away, but flew far enough away that it didn't see the table anymore. I hit return to home because I tested you could do the old school return to home now so I test the old school return to home where it goes up to your preset height and comes straight down, rather than new one where it dodges things, come back. Anyhow, it came down, landed on that top of that picnic table precisely. I was getting ready because I didn't want it to fall off the edge, but it put itself right down, no landing pad, anything like that. Boom, right in the tabletop. And then another little tidbit: when I got home, I was trying to transfer some files from the drone over to the RC Pro. And at some point, I just looked at my phone. Guess what my phone had on it? It had that quick transfer feature. It was like magic. I didn't even ask it to do it or whatever. The phone was just ready to do that. It has a quick data transfer now. The phone was ready to do it without me initiating anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is absolutely
awesome. It's a few tidbits here that we've never seen on another drone before. So I think you'll have. It's going to take you a couple batteries to go through everything, Bill. I mean, this is the full complement here. You won't get everything done in one flight.
Oh no, that's for sure. And that's why I'm going to take my time. I'm going to take several flights to get out there and to enjoy it.
And I was one of the people who had a little bit of the crooked horizon issue at times. I could just correct it with a gimbal calibration. But in my 2 flights so far, the horizon's as level as can be so far.
Yeah, I have had zero problems with that.
Not everybody did, but I did.
I've had zero problems, and I feel real fortunate for that.
Now, this wasn't a Fimi crooked horizon. This was just slightly crooked. It wasn't like the Fimi one where the world's tipped over. Yeah. And for
sorry
me, out there, Fimi folks.
Yeah, I've had no issues whatsoever for mine. So, again, I want to thank everybody for your thoughts and prayers for my father-in-law. He's still kind of touch and go. As I said at the beginning of the broadcast, with some internal bleeding, and they're trying to pinpoint where it's coming from. So, so really appreciate all your thoughts, well wishes, and prayers regarding that. And also, again, our Greg, hope you start to get better soon. Greg Pittman, recovering from his surgery. And then, of course, huge congratulations to our good friend, original Dobo, Ken Dono, at the birth of his daughter, Nova Grace. Have fun with those 3 a.m. Diapers and diaper
diaper duty
changings and feedings and all that. I am so glad those are days that are long gone. never to be darkened again. So
hey, Bill, before we let you go, can you give us your playoff predictions for this coming weekend?
That's going to be, Kansas City's going to be back in the Super Bowl, but and I don't really, the Bengals are there. The Bengals are playing the best football they've played in years, but I don't think it's going to be a contest. I think Kansas City's going to go right back to the Super Bowl. Rams and 49ers. I think the Rams have been on a roll. I see the Rams going to the Super Bowl, and I see Kansas City winning the Super Bowl. Okay. The other thing is, I am also now very much in favor of them for playoff overtime, both teams getting a touch on the ball. Because, that game, that was probably one of the best NFL games of all time, the Bills and the Chiefs. It deserved a better ending than the one it got, is what I'll say.
I'm going to go in a way back machine, Bill. I mean, I was 11 years old. Remember when, I think it was 1971, the Dolphins played the Chiefs in a playoff game. I call it the Ed Polak game. I think Ed Polak scored 3 touchdowns and practically carried KC back that day, but Miami still pulled out with a field goal, I think, in overtime.
In overtime, yep.
At that point, it was the greatest game I ever saw. And then, remember, then in the 80s, they had that San Diego-Miami game when Winslow scored all the TDs and they carried them off field, and then they called that the greatest game of all time.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking this one might be. It was pretty incredible. So
it was a game where you started to see anybody lose.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I felt with Kansas City and Buffalo. I really did.
Hey, Bill, tell the folks what you told me about. I asked you why did Tampa Bay's defense collapse at the end of that game with the Rams on Sunday?
Yeah, here's a super secret, and none of you guys can share this with anybody, okay? But Bruce Arians, you probably knew, he used to be offensive coordinator for the Steelers, okay?
He worked under a famous head coach.
He worked under a famous head coach, and he also is good friends with Mike Tomlin. Well, during that last series, okay, after the Bucs scored and they tied the game up with less than a minute left, okay, he says, you know what? I'm going to let my good buddy Mike Tomlin call a defense here in the last minute for the Bucs. Okay, that's why they lost.
And more another time, wasn't Mike Tomlin on the Bucs staff when they won the Super Bowl and with
Dungy.
Yeah. With Dungy.
Well, okay. Here's the other thing.
Not with Dungy, with
Gruden. Yeah,
we can't mention Gruden anymore since he got in trouble, but we'll just call him Mr. G.
Yeah. Well, he just. Well, don't I could get on my soapbox for hours about that man. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your week. And as always, remember, it's a great day to fly. Take care, guys.
Be safe out there.